This is the card list for Set 7 Next Adventure in the Digimon TCG. And in this video, we're going to talk about all the cards you must have from this set on day one of its release. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Steven. I'm your true champion. If y'all are excited, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. With all that being said, let's hop into the card list. All right, starting off, we have the red SR of Metal Greymon, but instead of looking at this grotesque regular art, let's look at the really nice box alternate art of Metal Greymon. Now, if you guys don't know, this card and the Were-Garurumon counterpart are essentially the first examples of power creep I've ever seen in Digimon. They both have an effect that say, on play, if you have a Tamer in play, gain 2 memory, which effectively makes them 5-drop level 5s. But they have actual inheritable effects. So in red and blue, they power creep Groundramon and Monzaemon respectively. The only problem about these cards is that, well, while they do serve a specific purpose, I don't really see that purpose being useful in the current format of Digimon, and I have not noticed these cards being used at all in future sets from the Japanese format, so I very much doubt they're going to be relevant in some kind of competitive capacity anytime soon. So while they may be like true examples of power creep in Digimon, they're not actually going to be useful in the current format or even subsequent future formats when new sets become available. That being said, if this gorgeous alternate art ever goes below $5 on TCG Player, I am definitely picking up a playset. Moving on to an actual relevant SR for red, we have Emperor Greymon. Now, I want to state before I talk about anything else that my favorite part about this card is that it has Blitz. And given that we just had set 10 sort of leaked as to it being based on Digimon Cross Wars or Fusion, I think having more Blitz support in red is a good thing and should be definitely looked at as, oh, I should pick these cards up because they might be supported down the line. That notwithstanding, and talking more about the actual Set 7 format, Red Hybrid specifically, which this card will be used in probably at 3 to 4 copies max, will be super interesting in this format. I don't think it's the best red deck by any means, but it is the best like hard aggro deck as of right now for Digimon. So if you're someone that prefers the red or aggressive type of playstyle, this card is definitely worth picking up. And with the expected like supply of Set 7 singles, I'm pretty sure Emperor Greymon will never go above $10 within the first week or so that should be the best time to pick up your playset. Also, I feel like I'd be doing Emperor Greymon and you a disservice if I didn't talk about this gorgeous alternate art. I mean, look, in the reflection of his sword, you can see the human spirit evolutions and the beast spirit evolutions that all combine to give you that like ultimate spirit evolution of Emperor Greymon. While we move into the blue cards, I think now is a good time to mention sort of like my best practice when it comes to new sets coming out in Digimon, and that is to always pick up a playset of the commons and uncommons for every color, because you never know when powerful uncommons and commons like Kumamon and Korikakumon are going to get printed, and these cards are just downright insane, even if you're not playing a blue hybrid deck. But you probably will be, given that it's Set 7 format, but in the future, who knows? These still could be the best ways to play blue, depending on what's looking really good. I digress. Moving on to the good stuff, we have Garurumon, who is looking to be the go-to finisher in blue hybrid for the English version of Set 7. Now that Ice Wall has been restricted and Mega Digimon Fusion has been banned, the original playstyle of blue hybrid of stunning with your level 4s and stalling the game out until you can do a really powerful free Susanamon turn isn't going to fly for winning games in this format. What you now need to do is actually figure out ways to not only grind advantage, but also have really powerful burst turns of aggression and finish off the game relatively quickly / gain enough advantage to win the game outright. And I think Garurumon at this point is the best card that does both of those things. Not only is it an amazing source of removal turn after turn against your opponent thanks to his Windage Evolving and Wind Attacking effect, but he can unsuspend any Digimon you want on your board whenever you need to. Which can lead to some pretty cool plays against your opponent during your turn depending on your board setup. So I'm absolutely a huge fan of the current version of Blue Hybrid that utilizes Garurumon, and I definitely recommend you pick up 3 to 4 copies. And once again, given the expected supply of Set 7, I very much doubt that this card will go above $5 max. And while I may be a bigger fan of the Emperor Greymon alt art, the Garurumon alt art is nothing to scoff at. Let me know your preference down below below in the comments. On to yellow, we have another great example of just broken commons and uncommons. I think the most broken card in this set is actually an uncommon called Jet Sylphimon, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that at this current point in time, Jet Sylphimon is the most expensive hot stamp pre-release promo. Moving on to the SRs, I'm not even going to bother talking about Rasenmon other than saying his alt art is really cool, but Kazuchimon is a card that I think is worth talking about that no one really is talking about. Having access to a relatively cheap form of recovery and an actual plus security attacking threat in yellow is, I think, really nice. Not only could it be a really nice way for yellow hybrid decks to close out games more quickly, it's also a way for non-yellow hybrid decks that are still yellow to have really powerful burst damage turns if they utilize Electric Rush, which I think any deck that isn't yellow hybrid will be doing. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Kazuchimon. I think he'll be super dirt because no one cares about him, and he's just going to be a really nice card that you should have in your collection. So definitely pick this one up. I think it's like the sleeper SR of the set. And really quickly, if we're comparing the Kazuchimon alternate art to the Rasenmon, I think Rasenmon is better strictly because of his background being a really nice modern city versus what has to be a sewage line in the same city. I feel like they did Kazuchimon literally dirty with this alternate art, but hey, who cares? With that said, let's begin the copium that is the green cards of the Set 7 booster set. Once again, the epitome of green support in the main booster set comes in the form of the SR Ibanwumon, which, with the most delicate of descriptions, is a bulk SR. Even though I really enjoy what this card can do, I find it a really interesting design card. It's not going to see really any play competitively in this format, and thus it'll be bulk at best. And while I am a huge fan of the actual like supported archetype of green hybrid for green this set, I don't know, it just feels weird to once again have no good green SRs to look forward to in a main booster set. But I promise you, come next set, new hero, things are gonna change. But ladies and gentlemen, the copium does not stop there. Let's talk about the black cards in set 7. Even though I'm a huge fan of the Dorumon Evolution line, I gotta say, it's not worth picking up in any form of like competitive capacity for this format. The only time it'll be warranted for you to pick it up is when set 8 and set 9 come out with further X antibody support for black. And even then, the only real card that's gonna be like super expensive is the Dorumon alternate art for obvious reasons. It's gorgeous and it's a super nice sort of like searcher for the X antibody black archetype. But from there's not really much else to talk about for black other than like the Dark Knightmon Skull Knightmon combo being used in D Brigade decks, or the random Gigasmon being played in Black Toolbox or even Diaboromon decks. So if you're a fan of any of those archetypes and want to support them with set 7 cards, there you go. Those are your options. Pick them up. They'll be super cheap. And if I had to rate the alternate arts, I think Dorumon's like S, Dark Knightmon's like clean and super nice, and then Dorogoromon has too much going on. It's impressive, but I think it's too much. Moving on to purple, we have a lot of new stuff going on actually that I'm very impressed with. Firstly, we have the Eismon Scatter Mode and Eismon cards that facilitate the Eismon loop / combo, which will be limited. This card specifically will be limited come April / set 8's release. So definitely pick these cards up. They're both commons and use them while you can. From there, we have the purple hybrids that I think only really work in Cherubimon decks. And Cherubimon is a very interesting card to talk about in set 7. I am 1000% positive he's going to be like less than $1 on release, but I'm also positive that we haven't even scratched the surface of what this card is capable of, because he is so generic in how he works, with what Tamers he has synergy with, and with what level 3s you can summon off of his on-deletion effect. So believe it or not, I think there's a ton of fun options / potentially really good options like yellow-purple Cherubimon, even like I've seen like red-purple Cherubimon that could be really useful in the current format. And who knows, as the format evolves, side decks become become actually a part of the game potentially, or even new metas develop within the English format, someone might find an actual broken deck with Cherubimon, and if you don't have this card already, you might regret not picking it up sooner rather than later. Kind of like Kazuchimon I talked about earlier, I view Cherubimon as being a sleeper SR that is definitely worth picking up given how cheap it'll probably be, and one that I recommend you try out if you're not only a fan of purple, but a fan of deck building in Digimon. And we've been talking about alternate arts a little bit. Let's touch on Cherubi versus Lopmon. Lopmon takes this victory, no shot for Cherubi. Am I biased because I have a Lopmon emote on my Twitch channel? Maybe, but guess what? This is my show. Moving on, we have the white cards. First things first, we have Nemon and Bokomon, both cards that support the hybrid archetypes for all the colors, technically, given that they are white. Bokomon is absolutely insane, and he's probably the reason why most hybrid decks are as good as they are. And Nemon, given that Digimon Card Game Fest will be allowing side decks for Digimon, I think is a card people are sleeping on. It's a comment, I know, but I do think it has a lot of uses, and you should try testing it out once you get your playset of it. From there, we have the Sistermons that just further support Jessamon and make it a viable deck in Set 7. The best one is Blanc Awakened, no question, being able to do recovery +1/ become a blocker if you have the other Blanc in play is just really good. CL, while being really cool, I feel like isn't worth it given that Jessamon has tons of ways to control board already. I'd rather play the other Sistermon seal so I can have memory gain / plus DP effects, but hey, having more access to different cards for a toolbox deck like Jessamon is always nice. Alright, before we talk about the big ticket items or the secret rares in this set, I want to remind you that if you have any lingering questions or you have anything that you want me to elaborate on from this video, be sure to follow me over on Twitch. Link is down below as always. I go live all the time and I love talking about this game. So come stop by, ask your questions live and in person, and hopefully we can have a nice little chat. With that said, let's talk about the biggest SR from the set, or the one that I think will be the biggest as the set evolves, Lucemon Chaos Mode. On play / win Digivolving, delete one of your opponent's Tamers or level 6 or lower Digimon. Just having that effect on a level 5 Digimon feels really disgusting in purple given some of the cards we now have access to, but because this is further support for the current Lucemon archetype, it's even more crazy. That being said, I don't think it's super competitive at this current point in time in Set 7, but I think it also has Cherubimon Syndrome, where it's not necessarily good right now, but that might be due to no one actually coming up with a good way to use it for Set 7. To my knowledge, the only real use of this card is in the future when Set 8 / Mastemon or Purple Yellow Jogress comes out, and so that can be when we expect it to have a big price jump. So that would mean that on day 1 or even day 2 or week 2 of Set 7 format, this card will probably be at its cheapest, and that should be the best time for you to pick it up. My current willingness to pay for this card is $30. If I can find it anywhere for less than $30, I will 1000% buy it. If it's even cheaper than that, bully for me / bully for you, hopefully, if that falls within your budget for secret rares from this set. Now, Susanomon is a completely different story. I think the only time this card is going to be relevant is in the current Set 7 format, and as new sets become available, it'll slowly fade into obscurity to where it's no longer being used. That being said, its most expensive price point should be a few weeks after the set drops, and Yellow Hybrid truly becomes like the most popular deck in Set 7, and this card is like a staple 2 of in those decks. So once again, I recommend picking this card up as soon as possible on day 1, but unlike Lucemon, you don't need a playset. You need like 2 copies max of this card. It is no longer the super free powerhouse in any sort of hybrid deck that it once was in the Japanese format. It is merely an extra form of removal on legs that does have plus security attack and can keep you from decking out. That is the purpose this card serves, and I very much doubt it'll be ever more than $25, $30 at its most expensive price point. And like I've done all video, let's rate the alternate arts of the secret rares. I think the best one No questions asked is Susanomon, but just barely. Lucamon looks really good in that it was basically just pulled out of the anime, but designed to have like a card's texturization slash like vibe of stillness. But Susanomon has like this heroic presence that I think is met really nicely with the steampunky kind of look and background of the entire art. And I don't know, I just like it better. Let me know down below in the comments what your favorite alternate art is in set 7. I think mine is Emperor Greymon, but a close second is definitely Susanomon here. Now, we're not done. There are still plenty of cards to talk about in this set. Firstly, we have the, for lack of a better term, Digidestin promos in this set that I believe take up rare slots in booster boxes. I could be wrong, but overall these are 8 promo cards that come out in the actual booster packs, and their pull rates vary case to case. The only one that is super viable and definitely worth picking up is the Seraphimon for yellow. It's a super cheap form of recovery both when digivolving and on deletion, so it has that like Kentaurismon syndrome of being a card you will always attack with and not care what happens to it afterwards, which is really nice in yellow hybrid decks or just like yellow snowball longevity decks. And the only other one worth mentioning, I think, is the Vicamon, because it's basically like 3 Korikakumons on Digivolve, and then when attacking, it's actually a Cocytus Breath against Digimon with no Digivolution cards, which could be a super nice inclusion randomly into blue hybrid decks slash, of course, Hexablaumon decks. All of these cards, except for the Seraphimon, are probably going to be like under $5 as the set goes on, but Seraphimon will probably be like $15 at his most expensive and might go up from there if yellow hybrid becomes like the most popular deck, which it's looking to be, and the set like stops being opened. So definitely pick this card up sooner rather than later, but luckily you don't really need more than 2 or 3 copies max. Moving on, we have the options and tamer cards, starting off with Giga Storm. It's basically a replacement for Atomic Blaster, being a dual form of removal for red. Pretty nice. We have Tidal Wave, which is a hilarious double Kaiser Nail for blue that I don't think we'll see much play in the main format, but in Pauper slash low rarity format might be really good, and I will definitely look into that. Starlight Velocity is, I think, a slept on blue option card that, you know, if you have your playset of, definitely experiment with in your blue hybrid decks. Electric Rush is a downright broken yellow card that in Lord Nightmon decks will be definitely abused, or even in like more aggro-focused yellow decks will be utilized. So if any of those like non-yellow hybrid decks tickle your fancy, this card could be super good. Moving on to the green ones, we got Thunder Laser, basically better flower cannon for hybrid decks. We have Pride Memory Boost, probably the best memory booster card for black at the moment, especially in D-Brigade decks. And then we have the winner of all things option cards in purple, in Calling from the Darkness, Dead or Alive, and Schwartz Lursats? We have this card for purple, which is by far the best card for purple in this set, and for better or for worse, is the most powerful removal spell I've ever seen. This card is the reason why yellow-purple hybrid will be the bane of the existence for most players in set 7, and it's deservingly so because of how stupid it is. And to round up the entire set, surprise, surprise, we have the Tamer cards from the hybrid set. They're all disgusting. I would say the strongest one is Tommy Himi for blue hybrid, and then the second strongest is Zoe for yellow hybrid because it's just another yellow tamer, which is hilariously good. And if you do plan on playing any of the hybrid decks, these cards in a play set will probably do you really well. Also, I want to point out that personally, I'm a big fan when companies like Konami or Bandai utilize actual Japanese kanji when trying to represent like element symbols within their fictional worlds, and the spirit evolution symbols are no exception to how good that can actually look. And boom, there you guys go. That wraps up the must-have cards in the Digimon TCG Set 7 format. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click that bell with notifications so you know when my videos go live for you. Also, if there was anything in this video that you're confused about or you want me to elaborate on, be sure to follow me over on Twitch. Link is down below. As always, I go live all the time over there, and I love talking with you all about this game. So come stop by, ask your questions live and in person, and we can have a nice little chat. With that being said, I have been your true champion, Steven. Please be sure to work hard, rest easy, and live well, and I will see you all next time. Peace.